Okay, so my reaction to the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul fight last night. So before I get into my reaction and my thoughts on the fight and what I thought about the whole event, I just want to talk about who won that fight. I know officially there wasn't a winner because it was an exhibition and there wasn't official scoring, but still, I rewatched the fight just now before I did this video because I didn't want to do the video, say things and end up regretting things and missing out facts and stuff. So I just scored the fight round by round as best as I can, right? And I scored it 7 rounds to Mayweather, 1 round I gave to Logan Paul. I gave Logan Paul the 7th round because he caught Mayweather with a couple of good clean jabs. But now, before I get into a YouTuber going the distance of one of the greatest fighters of our generation, arguably, definitely the best defensive fighter, in my opinion, of all time, I just want to look at the facts of who won that fight, who landed the cleanest shots, who won the boxing match. And it's unquestionable that Mayweather, even though it was an exhibition, he won that. He was putting all the pressure on Logan Paul. As I said, he landed the cleanest shots. And, a moral victory, of course. Logan Paul's done something that's going to be, that's historic. All credit to him, because at the end of the day, the fact that he didn't win the fight, he didn't win the match, he was outmatched by Mayweather. Mayweather outlanded him. He went a distance with Floyd Mayweather, and obviously for Logan Paul's fans and most of the younger generation today, and even boxing fans, that's still, it's almost like, I feel like we're in a movie. It doesn't feel real in that aspect. When you look at it like that, to think years ago, the Mayweather that beat Ricky Hatton, the Mayweather that beat Pacquiao, that beat De La Hoya, that beat Arturo Gatti, the unstoppable, the hand speed, hardly getting hit. To think that several years later on, a YouTuber, a novice who's had one fight with another YouTuber, is going to get in the ring with Mayweather and he's going to go 8 rounds. I mean, when you look at it like that, it's incredible. It's almost like Logan Paul has done. It's like he's done something from the Rocky films, from that perspective. So you got to give Logan Paul credit, because he didn't embarrass himself and he did a lot better than I expected. But I got to be honest, I didn't think that Mayweather was going to get in there and completely embarrass Logan Paul and knock him out in 1 round or 2 rounds. And the reason I didn't think that, because, and I know people are probably going to mention it, there's weight divisions for a reason. Logan Paul is massive compared to Mayweather. Mayweather naturally fought at, he started off at the lighter weights. I think he fought at 126 or 130, but his main prime weight was 147 welterweight. So obviously Mayweather came in heavier for this fight at 155, but Logan Paul weighed in at 189 pounds, and the size difference is ridiculous. So when I saw the size difference, see, this is what people don't understand, casual boxing fans. It doesn't matter how good someone is, as good as Mayweather is, and the fact that Logan Paul is a novice. When you're that much bigger than someone, it's not going to be easy for a little guy to knock out and completely destroy a bigger guy in most cases. And you've got to take into consideration Mayweather is 44 years of age. He's not even close to the prime Floyd Mayweather that he once was. He's been retired. He's done some exhibitions. Obviously, he had the McGregor fight, and I'm going to get to that because that's relevant to this. So, looking at all the pros and the cons, Logan Paul he's been working really hard. I respect him for doing that. Quite a lot of people respect him, because initially my thoughts were, I'm not watching a YouTuber fighting professional boxers. I just thought it was bad for boxing. I still think it's bad for boxing, right? But I'm kind of being, these, I'm kind of going with the times, even though something inside, I don't feel good about it, right? And again, I'm all for people achieving their dreams and breaking out of stereotypes and doing the impossible. And I love the Rocky films, and I guess Logan Paul, in his own way, is a Rocky story. What he's achieved, you know, you got to give him credit. Even though I'm not a fan, I'm not going to watch his YouTube videos. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't connect with that generation, right? No disrespect, but I just don't. We're just different. I'm not into showing off and social media and all in that type of way. But nonetheless, you've got to give credit where it's due. He's very successful. And like he said, however he managed to do it, he managed to get in and fight a legend, Floyd Mayweather, and go the distance and not get knocked out. So the moral victory goes to Logan Paul, but he didn't win that fight. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of Logan Paul fans and, you know, younger kids, which I'm not knocking them for. They're going to be thinking, oh my God, Logan Paul beat Floyd Mayweather. He beat him. But the reality is, if you know what you're looking at and you understand boxing and fighting, which I do, Mayweather controlled that fight. He controlled that fight from the first round to the last round. Now, obviously, the struggle Mayweather had was Logan Paul's reach, the size difference. But even with that said, and Logan Paul obviously he's physically much stronger than Mayweather. He's coming from a wrestling background. Most of the fight, Logan Paul was holding, surviving. But some of the things I give him credit that I saw that he did that will impress me. You know, he's not like he's stupid. He has learned the basics of boxing. He did use his distance. He did kind of keep his jab. He kept his arm out, and it made it difficult for Mayweather. And it would be difficult for anyone, even a legend, Pacquiao, any fighter. You know, Mayweather's what, 5'6", 5'7". What is Logan Paul? 6 foot, 6'2". He's 6 inches taller. So there's such a size advantage for Logan Paul. Whether he's a YouTuber or not, whether he's only had one fight and he's going up against, you know, an all-time great who's had 50 fights. So in that sense, when you look at the pros and the cons, when you give Logan Paul credit because he survived, he didn't get, and people are going to say, well, you know, Conor McGregor got knocked out by Floyd Mayweather, and Logan Paul's done better than McGregor. But it's very easy to dissect and look at things like that and create your own perception of it. But the reality is, you know, it was a real fight with McGregor and Mayweather. It wasn't an exhibition. And McGregor is much smaller than Logan Paul. And even McGregor was a lot bigger than Mayweather. And I thought, like everyone did, I thought McGregor did really well in that fight. In the first couple of rounds, you know, he gave Floyd some problems. He caught Floyd with a nice uppercut. But again, Mayweather broke him down and he beat McGregor up and he knocked him out. That's the facts. So whatever we say, Logan Paul doing well, which he didn't win that fight. It's not like we're sitting there now going, oh my God, Logan Paul's just knocked out Mayweather, or he's just beating him all around the ring and jabbed his head off and busted his nose, and he didn't do it. And to be honest, I was surprised. I was impressed that Logan Paul took those shots. So he's got a good chin. But you could argue, when you're 50 pounds heavier, or 40 pounds or 30 pounds, that's a lot of weight. You know, it's basically a welterweight or a light middleweight fighting heavyweight, or a slightly bigger cruiserweight. He's going to be able to take a bit more power because Mayweather's so much more lighter. So when I weigh all the pros and the cons, when I watched it last night, I was really disappointed staying up that late. I expected more. I expected Mayweather to knock him out, but now I've calmed down. Now the hype's calmed down, and I've watched different videos. You know, I've had a conversation with my brother. I rewatched the fight from more of a relaxed place, and I've got to say I was really impressed with how Mayweather was able to outbox such a bigger guy, regardless of him being a YouTuber. Because that's the thing that's in people's head, which is kind of, that's going to be the main topic. It's going to be a YouTuber has gone the distance with Floyd Mayweather. And when you look at it like that and you just sort of close the book and it's like, okay, yeah, that is like almost impossible. He's done the impossible. But when you look at the full picture, yeah, he's gone the distance, but he got outboxed and he got beaten convincingly. I had Mayweather, like I said, winning 7 rounds, and I gave Logan Paul a round. So full credit to Logan Paul. You know, it's an amazing achievement. But I have to, you know, and I'll be honest, I'm not Mayweather's biggest fan. As a fighter, I think he's brilliant. Pacquiao is my favourite fighter of all time. So it's not like I'm being completely biased. Like, I'm not being biased against Logan Paul. I'm just being truthful as much as I can on both sides. I'm being honest about what I saw from Logan Paul and what I saw from Mayweather. But Mayweather, for a 44-year-old, to get in with a 26-year-old who is young, fit, strong, and has been training continuously for a year now, even longer, and he's a very successful man. He's got millions of people following him, supporting him. That's pretty impressive when you think. And again, it's judging on the fact that Mayweather's been retired. He's been retired from boxing now for 4 years now. Was it 4 years ago or 3 years he fought McGregor? And the fact is, Mayweather done what he always does. He always finds a way to win. So my reaction is, I guess I'm a little bit conflicted. You can probably hear that, because personally, I don't think it's good for boxing. I think it disrespects the sport. I think YouTubers with very little experience having the opportunity to get in and fight goats of the sport, greats, I don't think it's fair. But again, you know, that's just my opinion. At the end of the day, you know, people would say, well, if you was in their position and you was offered millions of pounds, you'd get in and do it. And, you know, I probably would do it, you know, because I don't have that kind of money. But I still got to go with what I feel in my heart, and I feel it's disrespectful to the sport and it devalues the greats, because then in that case, now everyone's going to think, I can beat Mayweather. Logan Paul went the distance, I can go the distance. I mean, I can convince myself. The reality is not true that I might be able to go in with Mayweather, because I'm 210 pounds, I'm 6'2", I'm probably the same 6 inches taller than Mayweather. I fancy myself, I'm a little bit younger, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm younger. You know, I've got a bit of a boxing background, but the reality is Mayweather would take my head off without boxing me. I'd probably be knocked out, right? But let's just say if I went in to survive and I used my reach, let's just say miraculously, maybe I probably wouldn't do as well as Logan Paul. I went the distance, but he still didn't win. He didn't win the fight. And I do think that Mayweather did underestimate him. I do think that he didn't take it fully serious until he realised, whoa, a couple of rounds are gone here and I'm winning the fight, but I'm not winning as convincingly as all of us would have hoped. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed. In one way, I did expect Mayweather to knock him out, but considering the circumstances that Logan Paul is so much bigger, younger, and the fact that most of the fight that Logan Paul fought, I'm not knocking him, he was surviving, he was holding. There was a few times in the fight where he used his jab, and I thought, that's great, it's impressive, he's doing the right thing that a big man should do when he's fighting the little man. And he gave it, so I'm not knocking him, he's not a coward, he's brave, he got in, he did himself proud, he did better than most people could do against Mayweather, even people of all different levels, even though Mayweather is an old man now, he's 44 years of age, in his own words, he's going to be 45. That was not the Mayweather in his prime. Mayweather, even though he was still good, he didn't have the reflexes, anything close to that he had when he fought Pacquiao, you know, Hatton, Gatti. Mayweather then would have destroyed Logan Paul today. But obviously, in hindsight, we could say anything. But the facts is, the reality is, it wasn't prime Mayweather. It wasn't a 30-year-old Mayweather, 25. It was a 44-year-old Mayweather in an exhibition against a YouTuber who is becoming a professional boxer, and training like a fighter and taking it seriously, and came in tremendous shape. So when you look at all the pros and the cons, you know, the fight went the way that everyone kind of knew it would go. Mayweather was gonna win. He's too experienced. There's levels. There's too much skill, and but yeah, it was. You know, it's a hard one, this, because at the same time I'm saying it's not good for boxing, and you know, and I didn't think I'd be doing a video about this, to be honest, only because one of you asked me, and you know, there's not much going on at the moment, and it's going to be on everyone's mind. So look, maybe I'm going to be proven wrong, because there's a lot of us boxing purists who've been following boxing, you know, all my life, and obviously I do YouTube. I love YouTube. I don't consider myself a YouTuber, but some people would say I'm a YouTuber. I've got a channel. I've been doing these videos. I'm not into wanting to be a celebrity like Logan Paul, but I still do YouTube. At the end of the day, I just don't think it's right that YouTubers can just get in and jump the queue and go in with Mayweather, because I don't think it's fair on professional boxers who work all their life and they're not getting that type of money that these guys are making. Logan Paul is making millions, right? And good luck to him. But I just feel, it feels unfair to me. But obviously we're living in a different time now. We're living in the social media generation where anything's possible. And I think, you know, from a young person's perspective, I think it's great for the youngsters. You know, obviously he's their hero, he's their idol. So if you're a fan of Logan Paul and, you know, the kids look up to him, it's brilliant. It's a success for them to see him getting in with Mayweather and going the distance. So yeah, he won the moral victory in that he went distance, but he didn't win the fight. Mayweather did what Mayweather always does. And, you know, to be fair, I know I've been critical of Mayweather, and I still am at times. I sometimes think he's too defensive, like he's too careful, but that's what makes him Mayweather. You know, that's what makes him great, that he doesn't take chances. He didn't really, got hit with a couple of shots in there, but he never got hurt in the fight. He never really got hit flush with like a big right hand. And you're gonna get hit a couple of times, you know, when you're going in with someone who's really, and Logan Paul was really up for it. So yeah, it was all right. It was okay. I don't really, if I'm being honest, I don't really want to see any more exhibitions of Mayweather, because there is a risk if he keeps doing it that at some point he could get knocked out, he could get beaten, and that for me would just be, that would be embarrassing. It would be terrible for a legend. But at the end of the day, like Mayweather said, and I think I struggle with this, we all do, we all struggle with the concept of age, that we're all going to get older. We're not going to stay young forever, and you're not going to, it's impossible. You know, it's like saying, you know, so many of the greats, like Ali, who a lot of people think that he boxed on too long and he got beaten by people that would never have beaten him in his prime. So I guess Logan Paul's gone the distance with, you know, with one of the greatest boxers of our generation, but who's an old man and in boxing terms, and he's not in his prime. I mean, how was Logan Paul? 26, right? Mayweather's 44. He's half his age, you know. And to be honest, Mayweather was the fitter man. Logan Paul was exhausted, but I still give him credit because he got through the fight, but he did hold a lot, you know. But again, what's Logan Paul expected to do? You know, he's going up against Mayweather. He's only had one fight, so I'm not knocking him. I'm just pointing out. I'm trying to point out every single fact to make this not an argument, but a fair assessment, a fair reaction. But yeah, I mean, if I was not really clued up on boxing and I was more into the world of YouTube and following Logan Paul, and I would have watched that fight from that perception, I'd be like, whoa, you know, Logan Paul's doing so well, Mayweather can't knock him out. But look, watch the fight back now, watch it again, watch it carefully, look at the rounds, judge the rounds, and you'll see that Mayweather outboxed him, hit him with big shots, definitely hurt him to the body and to the head, but to his credit, he was tough, and he's a big, strong guy. So he's not gonna, you know, Logan Paul was never gonna fall down and get knocked out by one shot. And Mayweather, he's not really a big puncher. He's not really a one punch take you out. I mean, if Logan Paul goes in with someone like Canelo, I'm sorry to say, he will get destroyed. Canelo would take that. I wouldn't want to see that. I think he'd put him in hospital. He'd knock him out. So again, we have to take in consideration, if we want to be honest and have a fair assessment and look at it. It was an exhibition. It wasn't a real fight. And one thing, right? This is my opinion. Personally, I would have loved to seen that fight gone 12 rounds, because I think if that would have gone even 10 rounds or 12 rounds, I honestly think Mayweather would have got Logan Paul out of there. I think he would have got to him. Logan Paul would have been tired. He was, he couldn't keep fighting the whole fight. But I do kind of wish they had a better referee in there, a more experienced referee to break him up more. I felt like the referee was letting Logan Paul and Mayweather, well, mostly Paul, hold too much, and that kind of spoiled the fight. But look, was it entertaining? I guess it was entertaining. It was entertaining for what it was, and I guess it's got me to watch it, and I had no interest in it. I'm not into celebrities fighting or YouTubers fighting real boxers. I want to see real boxers fight real boxers. But look, I don't mind seeing YouTubers fight other YouTubers. And look, in regards to Jake Paul, from what I've seen, you got to give him credit, because he to me seems like the better one out of the two, and he's fighting more consistently, knocking people out, and he has knocked out that guy Ben Askren, or Askren, whatever his name is. And look, I'm just going to be honest. He's got terrible hands. He's obviously at MMA. He's a wrestler. That's his background. I thought that was just, he came in terrible shape. But Jake Paul knocked him out. Jake Paul has got a good right hand. So I think if Jake Paul continues, he can. As far as I'm concerned, I don't really class Jake Paul now as a YouTuber. I consider him a professional boxer. He's obviously early into his career. But yeah, you got to give the Pauls, you got to give the brothers credit, because what they've achieved, and coming from the YouTube background from that respect. But in terms of actually, I can't give them the credit that I'm going to give a Pacquiao Mayweather until they prove everyone wrong, until they beat, until they win some real boxing fights and win some titles. And I'm not saying that they can't do it, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be fooled by an exhibition and, the perception of someone on YouTube with a massive following believing that, oh, he's just beaten Mayweather, when he didn't beat Mayweather. The only thing is, Mayweather wasn't able to knock him out. But to be fair, if you look at Mayweather in his prime, a lot of the fights that he had, he wasn't able to get people out of there. But he always does what Mayweather does best. He outboxes them. He hits and he hardly gets hit. And he did that in the Maidana's fight. Maidana gave him a great fight and came on. But Mayweather does what he does. And I don't always like it. There's bits of Mayweather boxing that I love, and I think it's brilliant. But at the end of the day, you can't knock the fact that he always wins. He always finds a way to win, and that's what Mayweather did. And so that's my reaction. That's my thoughts. I still don't think it's. I think it's great for the YouTube. It's great for the Paul brothers. It's good for the younger generation, young kids. It inspires people. It shows them that they can live their dreams and they can achieve things that are impossible. But I don't think it's good for the integrity of boxing when, YouTubers are getting more, making more money, and not just the money, they're getting more attention than real boxers who have worked hard all their life. I mean, Josh Taylor, who's just beaten Ramirez, who's a unified champion, they didn't even televise it. It's disgraceful that fight hardly didn't get any, didn't get any media exposure. But Logan Paul, an exhibition with Mayweather, has gotten so much publicity. So that just goes to tell you that we're living in completely different times now. And I guess to the younger kids, I'm going to seem like an old man who is old-fashioned, set in his ways. But I suppose all generations are like that. It's difficult to let go and change into new ways. But I don't know. Maybe in a couple more years, this will all be normal, and that's just how the future will be. You'll have YouTubers. You'll have that's the way it seems like it's going. You know, I never thought you'd see the day where MMA fighters are fighting boxers. And even that, I've got to be honest, right? Let me make an opinion. I still didn't think it was fair that McGregor fought Mayweather in boxing, because he was never going to win that. You know, how is an MMA fighter, and it's arguably, and I don't know loads about MMA, but I know a little bit, McGregor's one of the best strikers of all time, right? But how is he going to beat the best defensive boxer in our generation? And Mayweather's one of the best, in some people's minds, the best boxer all round, even as a striker. Mayweather's hands are unbelievable. And that was proven in the McGregor fight, which was an exhibition, a real fight. And McGregor did well until he got stopped, broken down. He gassed out, and Mayweather knocked him out, stopped him. So times have changed, man. Times have changed. And who knows? And I'm sure there's mixed reactions. You know, there's a lot of boxers that are outraged, they don't like it. Some people think it's great for the sport. What do you guys think? Do you think it's good for boxing? Do you think it's bad? I know I'm probably talking to a wide audience. But yeah, I mean, I never expected to do boxing videos on this channel. This channel isn't a boxing channel, but it's just the way the times have gone at the moment. And I suppose for me, with the pandemic, it was a bit depressing. I wanted to cheer myself up and talk about, I love sport and there's big fights at the moment. But I just, for me, I'm not really into the exhibitions. I didn't even really like seeing, you know, I know back in the day, I think, was it Muhammad Ali? He done some exhibitions of wrestlers, and it didn't really bother me and stuff. I didn't take it too serious, but I just don't really like the way it's going. I want to see, you know, Errol Spence fight Crawford. I want to see Pacquiao Spence. I want to see the top boxers fighting the top boxers. And I didn't really like McGregor Mayweather when it got announced, but I have to admit, I thought the fight was entertaining. So I could kind of understand that more, because McGregor's not a YouTuber. He's a real fighter. You know, he's a obviously one of the pound for pound greats in UFC. Even though I don't think he's as good as he used to be now. I don't think he's got the hunger anymore. That's just my opinion. But what he done in MMA was unbelievable, striking, and I think if McGregor wanted to, he could go into boxing and he could beat quite a few boxers. He probably could win. He probably could become a world champion, I think. But he was never going to beat, you know, the Pacquiaos, the Mayweathers, people like that in the sport. The elite guys just it's not good enough in terms of boxing. MMA is obviously different. If Mayweather went into MMA, he'd get destroyed. McGregor would destroy him. A fight like Khabib. So it's just one of them things, isn't it? But yeah, it's like Teddy Atlas said. It's like fantasy has now become reality. Like the video game, times of playing things on video games and living through virtual reality. It's now, you know, a YouTube star can actually fight you know, a unified legend of the sport. It's crazy, but when's it going to all end? I mean, what next? Is it going to be, is Logan Paul going to fight Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua? It's just, it's crazy. But yeah, that's my thoughts, all right? And I'll read your comments below.